This is for Iraq.
Down with Big Brother. Down with Big Brother. Down with Big Brother. Teach the whole book. Makes no difference now. The thought police get me just the same. Even if I never put the pen to paper, I have committed thought crime. And for that, sooner or later, they'll get you. Always during the night, you simply disappear. Your name removed from the registers. Every record of you wiped out. You were abolished, annihilated, vaporized. They'll shoot me in the back. I don't care. Down with Big Brother. They overshoot you in the back of the neck. I don't care. Down with Big Brother. Ministry of Peace with service, Ministry of Truth with love, Ministry of Love with torture, Ministry of Plenty with starvation. These contradictions are not accidental. They are deliberate exercises in double think.
Who controls the past, controls the future. Who controls the present, controls the past.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4. And if the party says that it's not 4, but 5, then how many? 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4. No, what else can I say? 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4. Stop it! Stop it! 4. How many fingers, Winston? You're lying. You still think that. Many things. 4. Stop it! Stop saying! I hate it. The time has come to take our last step. You must love Big Brother. It is not enough to obey him, you must love him. Guard, take him. Room 101.
George Orwell's 1984. And now, our intermission commentator.
George Orwell is a distinguished English writer who is desperately concerned, as many others of us are today, with the shape of things to come. And he is also aware that such earlier prophecies as those of Mr. Wells and Mr. Aldous Huxley were not so much incorrect as incomplete, and are now in need of restatement and revision before a modern audience. Thus, Mr. Wells forecasts the engulfment of modern civilization in total war. But war, says Mr. Orwell, is not all, nor is it quite the worst imaginable thing. And as long ago as 1932, Mr. Huxley satirized the regimented state in his book called Brave New World. But some people in those days probably missed the satire and thought that with all its mass production techniques and scientific management, Mr. Huxley's New World might even be worth looking forward to. But today, no one is so naive as that. Mr. Orwell, however, is the first writer to warn us in the form of fictional satire what might conceivably happen if all the worst features that exist anywhere in our modern world were to prevail over all the others, and if, in addition, all these worst features were to spread all over the earth. Since the story is told with nightmarish detail and inexorable logic, the commentator can perhaps serve best by a few mild warnings of his own. First, that despite any easy assumptions that might readily and even excusably occur to both listener and reader, Mr. Orwell's satire does not bear exclusively against any one country. Certain early symptoms of that breakdown of the human soul which he forecasts are diagnosable in all countries today. And most of us also, to a greater or less extent, are already victims of certain types of doublethink. And it would be a useful private exercise to examine near home for such instances as well as to recognize them more spectacularly in other parts of the world. Personally, I find Mr. Orwell's picture horrible and timely and fascinating. It will probably take its place among the memorable works of its kind, both for its technical virtuosity and for a sort of intellectual passion that pervades it throughout. Mr. Orwell is, as we say, burned up about the state of the world. And yet, with all the reservations some of us might make, this book that Mr. Orwell has written deserves our serious attention. It is not a likable story, and one may hope and even believe that it is not a likely story either. But when we think of all that has happened throughout the world during our own lifetimes, it does not seem quite an impossible story.
Thank you. Our version of 1984 will continue from Hollywood after a brief pause for station identification.